Hi, this is Dr. Tom Rogers, the Common Sense MD, coming to you today on a Monday morning. It's a new year, and let's talk about one of the main things that I focus on in my practice. After many years of practicing medicine, I finally realized that all the medicines I was prescribing for diabetes, hypertension, high cholesterol, arthritis, depression, the more medicines I was putting on people, the more I realized when they came back and maybe their numbers looked better, but they didn't look any different or feel any different. As a matter of fact, sometimes they felt worse because the medicines have side effects. The more I realized that these people, a lot of them had a common problem, and they were just too overweight. So I changed the whole scope of my practice, and I focused on losing weight and getting people to get back to that ideal body weight, which I think is the key to being healthy, really. And then, of course, it morphed into hormone research and looking at menopause, andropause, and it's taken it a step further with hormonal therapy. And believe it or not, hormones are very tied to what you weigh. It's why when people go through menopause or andropause, a lot of them gain belly fat. Their body changes shape, and I deal with that on a daily basis and have researched it for years. And through observation, through treating thousands of diabetics, having 2 diabetic kids myself, studying a lot about insulin resistance and looking at a lot of numbers and correlating them to patient interactions, I think I've got a pretty good handle on why I believe that most people eat too many carbs, and I have a pretty good feel for how to lose weight. And again, at Performance Medicine, we're not just a weight loss clinic. I hate that term because usually those are just phentermine clinics. Not that I don't use phentermine, some I do, but there's a lot of other tools out there. And if I can't figure out your metabolism and give you the right tools to help you get down to your ideal weight and help to keep you there, then it's a waste of time. So I firmly believe that you need to eat a lot less carbs, probably less protein than you're eating, and a lot more good fats. I mean, think about it. Back in the 80s, when we put everybody on a low-fat diet, everybody got fat, or at least 66% of us did. So it was really a wrong idea. It comes from a long history of politics and the food industry, etc. I don't want to get into that right now, but just finished a great book. It's called Fat for Fuel by Dr. Mercola, who's a really, I think he's about the same age as I am. He's a family doc and just a really good doctor, full of wisdom about how we've kind of been misled in treating in medicine, the way we treat patients. And he's on the same page as I am, that there's certain things you need to be doing to keep yourself young and healthy and certainly trim. So, fat is not the enemy. Fat is the friend. Now, I'm talking about good fats. So there's a lot of things you need to know about what you put in your mouth, which is the most important determinant of your health and your longevity. We aim to improve people's health span. We want them to live longer. That's your lifespan. Your health span is a period of time when you actually can do things, get around, not be on a walker or a wheelchair, know what's going on in your head. It's the time when you feel good, you want to do stuff. Lifespan, who cares if the last 10 years of your life is spent in a nursing home? It's not really worth it to me, and probably not you if you looked at it. But so at Performance Medicine, I've really founded my clinic on getting people leaner, and there's many, many ways to do that. I usually find out that most people are insulin resistant, and what that means is they eat so many carbs that the insulin in their body is not efficient in getting that sugar out of their blood into the cells for energy. So you get too much insulin on board, and insulin's a fat storing hormone. It makes you hungry, it makes you store fat. And then, of course, you get type 2 diabetes, heart disease, increased rates of cancer, everything else bad that can happen to you. Even Alzheimer's, dementia. I mean, it's been labeled type 3 diabetes for a reason. So I'll look into your metabolism. Of course, I'm going to check your thyroid and your adrenals, but importantly, your insulin resistance, your fatty acid levels, your hormone levels, because they all interact with each other. But one thing I want to mention today is, besides eating more good fats, which your body's really meant to run on fats, not sugar. It's much more efficient for your body to run on fats than protein or carbs. You get twice the energy per kilocalorie. And the other thing about fats is they keep you full. You're not going to be hungry. You know, our bodies were not meant to graze all day and eat. They were meant to go through periods of fasting. That's why I love intermittent fasting. I do it every day. It's made a huge difference in how I feel. And I've maintained my lean weight because of that tremendously. And some of you know the story about the COVID quarantine that we all had to endure last year, still are in a lot of cases, and people have gained weight for that. Then you throw in your intermittent fasting and you lose your weight. But I want to talk about one other thing that kind of bugs me, is that a lot of your nutritionists and dietitians just haven't kept up with the literature on how to lose weight. I mean, they have been taught and are practicing from years ago, and a lot of what they're still teaching is wrong. I mean, if you look at the American Heart Association, which are really bought off by various food industry groups like cereals, there's no heart healthy cereal out there. But so if you want to know the real deal, read from a guy like Mercola or somebody, or listen to what I'm trying to tell you. But for example, a lot of the nutritionists will say, eat a lot of whole grains and whole wheat. Well, actually, we all know that white flour is very unhealthy because the nutrients have been bleached and processed out. So people think whole wheat is good. Actually, it's not good. According to Dr. Marcia Alvarez, she's a specialist in treating obese patients that I've followed for years. The modern wheat is the root of all evil in the world of nutrition. I'll repeat that. Modern wheat is at the root of all evil in the nutritional world. Why? We've always heard, wheat's good for you. It's grains, it's fiber. Well, the problem is it's been crossbred with toxic chemicals and pesticides. The high heat drying destroys all the nutrients that were in it in the first place, because there was fiber in it and some nutrients, but they destroy it all. There's a lot of people out there with celiac disease and many, many, many more with gluten sensitivities. I'm one of them. And probably, they say 30%, but I think it's more like half of all the people in the world are gluten sensitive. That means that when they eat glutens, which you think of wheat, rye, and barley, and they make it and everything as glue to stick together food and to preserve it longer. There's a lot of, I think 1% of people in the world have celiac disease. But what a lot of people don't realize is that the gluten sensitivity may be half of us, kind of like dairy. Half of us are dairy sensitive too. Wheat's very inflammatory. It causes a lot of permeability in our gut. In other words, leaky gut. It inflames the one cell thick barrier between your gut and your bloodstream. And so when you inflame that, it sets off an inflammatory cascade in your blood and can really destroy your immune system, for one thing. We talked about COVID last week and being an immune system problem. Well, your gut houses about 70% of your immune system. So you got to think about your gut and what you put into it. So certainly wheat, glutens, and also dairy are the two most common things that will be inflammatory towards your gut. Wheat also increases blood sugar. I've seen it happen to my kids. It also, of course, makes you gain weight. Your blood sugar goes up, your insulin goes up, you gain fat, especially around your belly. Wheat also has neurotoxic properties, meaning that it inflames your brain. They did a study, a well-known study back in the 70s in several psychiatric wards where people had schizophrenia. They didn't really know how to treat it. They didn't have the great medicines we have now to treat it. So there was some brilliant psychiatrist that decided to do an experiment. So he cut all the wheat out from the diet of half of these schizophrenic patients, and they got much, much, much better by cutting the wheat out. And then some of the drugs came along that we throw on to people with schizophrenia, and they forgot all about the dietary part and about all these findings that we found out about how bad wheat was for you, which would be heresy to say in a lot of nutritional circles right now, but I'll say it. I'm not afraid to say it. Wheat is bad for you. Go read The Wheat Belly or Grain Brain, written by famous cardiologist and a famous neurologist. Those are great books that really go into detail about how bad wheat and grains and glutens are for you. So I want to end it by saying, if you're having a weight problem, let us try to help you figure this out by looking into your metabolism, looking into your hormones, looking into your gut function, looking into what you're eating, and getting you on the process to losing weight. It's so multifactorial. That's why most diets fail. They all work, and then they fail because you don't stick to them. But in my opinion, we're definitely eating too many carbohydrates, probably too many proteins. There's times in your life when you need more proteins, growth periods, and there's times in your life when you don't need more proteins, and that's as you age, because you don't want growth. Growth can cause cancer. So that goes down a path when you're talking about the nutritional pathways in life, like mTOR and the insulin pathways, the AMP pathways, which gets kind of complex, but come to us. We'll help make it simple for you. That's why I call myself the common sense doctor, trying to interpret the difficult, and which I've spent years studying and observing, to make it easy for you to lose weight and to feel more energy, to hurt less in your joints. Those are the things I aim for in my practice. So the common sense doctor, let me make the hard easy for you. Call us or look at our website, performancemedicine.net. We hope to see you next week. Thank you.